you go to SEMA, you win Young Guns.
I am the king of ultra niche products that nobody needs.
I'm like, you guys, it looks like the world's most insane garage sale right now. You're like,
Mhm.
oh crap, it's out there. Now I have to
Yeah.
focus on it.
We talking about a $250,000 thing? We talking about a $500,000 thing? Are we in the 7+ figures?
Dom almost just fell out of her chair when she realized a car could cost 7 figures.
I got to learn the most valuable lesson there is. Don't fricking use DCTs.
Hey guys, welcome to the Just Gonna Send It podcast. I'm your host, Jim Belosic, today with a very special guest, Kyle Kuhnhausen of KMC fame. So thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We've known Kyle for a long time now. How many years?
I actually, doing research, knowing I was going to be on SendCutSend podcast, I scrolled all the way back through 182 orders I've placed, and it was April of 2020 was my first official order.
Oh man,
I thought it was earlier than that, but I suppose it was 2020.
That's no. So, what November 2018 was our first official sale, and then we did like nothing in 2019. It was such a clown show. Like we had such a tough time doing anything. But then 2020 is when things started to pick up. So that was like COVID time too.
Was it? It might have been.
I think it might have been
I think it might have been just right before it or something like that. Because I was looking and it was tractor parts and weld. Everybody does weld tags first. That's the first thing you SendCutSend.
Yeah.
Well, I still have some from the initial run. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Thanks for being a loyal SendCutSend customer. Anyway, we've known you forever, and I think I remember my first impressions of you was like on Instagram. And I was like, oh, this guy's a customer. He's tagging us. That's really cool. And then we started to see some of your builds. Like I remember, what did you call it? Banana boat?
Banana boats.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I was
it got skipped for the official contract car.
Okay.
This is a good buddy. He's basically family. So.
And I was like, holy crap, that is an insane build. This guy knows what he's doing. And as you dig deeper into your Instagram profile or you start doing some research, every little bit of the car is massaged and custom or whatever. Like, so is that kind of your trademark? Is that your?
That's kind of my MO. Yeah. Like, I just like to make stuff. I don't like to buy. Like if I can make it, I'd rather do that than buy it. So if I can even incrementally make it a little bit better or even a little bit worse than what I could go buy, I'll just make it. And then that's where SendCutSend comes in, because I like 1,200 square feet. I don't have a fiber laser. I don't have a CNC press, but it's all at my fingertips. So
cool. So tell everyone where you're at today before we kind of go into like how you got here. Today you're an award-winning badass custom car builder. Like, what would you call yourself? How do you describe yourself to new people?
I just say I'm a hot rod builder. But people think domestic cars when you say that, but anything's a hot rod. I just like to build anything that's cool. So but the thing that made my career launch was a Datsun. So, and I grew up in the Fast and Furious era, so I was always I had a Honda Prelude. I think one of your previous guests had a Honda Prelude. That was my first car, and that kind of segued. It was right when Fast and Furious came out. I was already hooked on Dan's comp from my BMX days, so that just shifted right to buying car parts.
Did you have Lambo doors on the Prelude?
I didn't have any Lambo. I had 0 Lambo doors, let alone 4. So
sorry, man. Yeah, that's kind of boring. Yeah,
I got nothing.
So I think you're.
But I didn't say. I forgot to. I loopholed the whole question. I'm in Cresswell, Oregon, in our little garage here where we build the hot rods.
Okay, well, you're selling yourself short, because it's more than a hot rod shop. I mean, you're making multi-million-dollar vehicles that are worth every single penny. I built some really cool stuff, and each one I just internally, it's got to be better than the last one. That's how you get better. And I've learned a lot of stuff along the way, and I've paid for a lot of knowledge that you just can't get at any school. But it's all led up to this one, which is going to debut at SEMA here in, 10 days, something like that. This is finally on par with, it's as good as what's out there. It's a big world. I'm a small fish in. There's a ton of super talented guys that have been in doing what I do for a really long time. But I purpose built this thing with the grace of my client to go to SEMA and do Battle of the Builders. And I have a little bit of kind of knowledge of that as I've judged that competition, the young gun side, for several years. So I've been right there. I know what's looked at. I know what's expected, and kind of put all that energy into this thing, hoping that this will kind of bring us up a notch.
Because that's kind of your initial start of fame, right? You were SEMA Young Gun.
Yeah, I won Young Guns in 2018, and that's kind of what launched it and gave credibility to what I was doing. And then found another client, and found another client, and found another client. And it seems like every time I really need the phone to ring, it does ring. So,
did you win Young Guns with the Datsun?
Datsun, yep.
And was that a client car, or that was your?
That was my first client car. Yeah, I started the business to build that car. I was fresh out of school. Graduated college with a business degree, knew I wanted to do some kind of business. Didn't really want to do it right then. I was going to get a day job and let it marinate, figure out what I wanted to actually do. And that landed in my lap. And I went, well, for tax purposes, I need to start an LLC here. And then it just kind of stuck. Even the name Kuhnhausen Metal Concepts, that's probably not what I would have named the business, but I had to decide in like a day. I was like, well, that's it. So after a certain time, it's like, well, I put 10 years, over 10 years into this. So I don't really want to transition too much. And I kind of like it. The business is me. It's not, if you talk to me on the phone, I build your car too. It's not I don't have employees that I delegate to. I do everything.
So you're right out of college, and this job falls in your lap. This client comes to you and says, I have this Datsun. I want you to build it, go nuts.
It didn't start like that.
Yeah, I was going to say, wait a second.
It started here and it snowballed to here.
Because I was going to say, clients don't just come to business grads and say, build a car. Like, you must have been doing stuff before that. Yeah.
Yeah. I was always, since a very young age, I grew up in automotive shop with my dad's shop. They didn't do that kind of work, but always on the side, him and his partner were doing, drag racing, building cars, doing restoration work on the side. So I was always very involved in that, and we were known locally for, my dad, at least, for that's what he does, is he can build really nice cars. And then at a certain point, he was, didn't want to do any of that side work anymore. His business was doing great and just would rather work on his own stuff. And then I graduated college, and that's kind of how I got the Datsun, is that guy wanted, to take it in for a paint job, and they just didn't really want to do it. But he's like, well, but my son's actually kind of wanting to get into this stuff. And so kind of handed it off to me that way. We went to a business lunch, me and my dad and him. And from then on, it was KMC, and me and Dennis were building the Z car.
Okay. So the Z car started with a paint job.
Yes.
But I think
it was going to be a get it running restoration paint job.
That's how they all start.
Everybody's seen nowadays. I just tell people at the beginning where we're going to be, because I know it happens every single time. So why don't we
slippery
just plan
slope,
for
man? Slippery slope. Oh my God. Yeah. I've taken stuff in just for a quick respray. I'm like, don't even mask it, just shoot it. I'll scrape off the overspray, and then $50,000 later I have something. So producer Dom will put up photos of the Z car here. So it started with the paint job, but then tell me about the slippery slope that it went down. Because it's an amazing car. Like, that's a hell of a build.
Oh, it was a really cool car. It's hard because I look through my eyes now at all this stuff and I go, oh God, I would do so much different. But you don't know that until you've done it. So I'm super grateful for that client. And
how old were you? Like 22 or something, or
something like that? Yeah, it would have been 2013. 34 now. You guys can do that.
I don't know math.
Yeah.
So to all the 22-year-old men out there, you don't know anything. You think you do, but you're going to know a hell of a lot more at 34 or 44.
Yeah. At 27, the most, and then reality sets in, and then you just slowly decline from there and go, oh, actually, I really don't know that much.
So you have this super cool client that it starts with a paint job, and then are you going to him and being like, hey, I had this idea, or what is that relationship look like?
It was semi-mutual. We had decided that, hey, that motor was seized up, the L24 it had. He'd owned this car since he was in college, and he was a practicing orthodontist and much older. and the engine was seized. And I'm like, well, getting an L24 engine rebuilt, there's like one place that wants to do it, and they, you hear shady things, and it's really expensive, takes forever. And I'm like, good old LS out of a junkyard. You can have more power than you would ever get for any amount of money you spend on an L24. It's cheaper. It's cool, instant torque. Let's do that. So we did that. And then it just kept going. He kept seeing, I've always kind of had this, it's that saying, you always do more than you're paid for, so that someday you get paid for more than you do. I've always had that going into everything in life. And so I was just doing as much as I could do for the guy, not really worrying about how much I'm getting paid. I'm just doing a really good job. And he saw that, and he saw my opportunity to maybe do SEMA and all that stuff. And he's kind of just loosen the reins till finally it's kind of ends up being a bit of my vision at the end. Of all the cars I've built, that one's probably, at least aesthetically, like the most me, because it's all there. Like there's very little holding back on that. The appearance of that car. It would be a little bit more subtle maybe in some aspects, but not too much.
Well, that's the young gun stuff. That's the 22-year-old, 23-year-old, because it's got a bunch of ground effects, and it's got the livery on it.
It's got everything. And it's just all of it. Just how much you're going to do, all of it. So that's what we did. We did all of it, and we won. So that was cool.
Yeah. So this client, these things take time, obviously. So he's doing check-ins, and you're like, hey, here's progress. And he's like, okay, I'll give you a little bit more leash, or, how did that work?
It was actually more low key than that, really. Just he'd stop by him, and he had a young son who had a little bit of interest in it, maybe, and a daughter that maybe had a little bit of interest in it. And they'd stop by every now and then, check it out. Otherwise, I'd, send pictures here and there, send an invoice if I spent a significant amount on parts or something. It was pretty laid back, and that was not my full-time job back then. I was moonlighting KMC, and I was working for my dad's shop out of college as a body tech. So
okay,
I was doing auto body by day, 7 to 8 to 5, and then 5 to 9, 10, 11, and on weekends is KMC time. So I was bachelor back then. I had nothing better to do. I just worked 7 days a week for 11 to 14 hours a day.
Yeah, well, there's a couple takeaways here. It's when you're young and you have the opportunity and you don't have a family or whatever, work, kick ass, build your business. And then tell me the quote again. You said, if you give more,
if you do more than you're getting paid for, eventually you'll get paid for more than you give.
I love that.
And I think that tracks, because as you gain experience and knowledge and all that, it's your time is more valuable. So
yeah, there's too many people, especially when they're starting out, they're so nervous about getting paid or making ends meet that they'll try and cut corners, and then that's no way to build your business. That's no way to get referrals.
I was always as low overhead as possible, and just take that pressure off of just having to produce, and being able to be a little bit more artistic about the whole process. And the same concept applies today. I still work out of that same shop, and I've literally outgrown it at this point. So it is time to step up to something bigger. But I also bought property, so that at some point I can potentially do that.
Yeah, I was going to say, we'll touch on that in a little bit. I noticed, or I saw on Instagram, and we had talked, and you had bought some property, and I'm like, okay, where's the giant shop? When is this happening? So
at least to store some of this stuff,
Yeah. So how long did that build take? Like from
that was 5 years, but it was kind of a part-time effort. So.
Okay. So you're able to pay rent or whatever with your day job, and then you're just kind of sending some invoices.
During that time, I also did an LS swap, C10, and other side work too. It wasn't the only thing I had going, but it was the primary thing that I'd always go back to. And he wasn't in any rush, because he wanted to enjoy it with his kids, and his kids were way too young to enjoy it at that point. They needed 5 years just to get tall enough to reach the pedals on. His one son, his only son, was sitting on a stack of catalogs one time. We went out to this old mill a couple of years ago, sitting on 7 U-line catalogs, and had pedal stuff, and he was ripping this thing around the parking lot. I must have been 12. He raced go-karts and stuff, so that was really fun to go do that with him and see that the vision kind of come to life on that, of what he had wanted at the beginning was to enjoy it with his kids. So
that's cool. And the car is still in the family?
Yeah. I don't think
not
he'd
wrecked or
ever
anything.
sell
Okay.
that one. No.
Okay, good.
No.
How nerve-wracking is it to have a 5-year build and like, I know it's not your primary source of income at this time, but I mean, it's a lot of work, and
Mhm.
you need some money. Like, is there a risk that the plug is going to get pulled, or I mean, there's always like a risk of
At any
divorce, or
point.
who knows what, right?
Yeah, at any point. The good thing I had going was I had a stable day job, and I was kicking butt at that, and making more money than I even make now doing that. That was a career. So I gave up the real job to pursue the passion job, knowing that someday the passion job will catch up. It's just a matter of, can we stay the course until that happens.
It does take time.
But at the end of the day, what I get internally from being able to pursue all these things I'm into on a daily basis, it's got value. If I were to stop tomorrow and go work for somebody, I take that value with me of stuff that I know how to do. Developing products, actually know how a business does run somewhat. Those make good employees. So hopefully that never happens. But if it did, it's not the worst thing that could ever happen.
Entrepreneurial employees are the best employees. It's just they're a flight risk, but you're always kind of happy when they do it.
Yeah.
The best ones who always want to run their own business, like, it's just an honor to have them for however long you have them. If you have them for 6 months or a couple of years or whatever, that's great. And we always encourage them and help them start a business or whatever. And then some of them will leave and then come back, and they're like, well,
I'm sure that happens a lot, because running a business is not fun.
It's hard at times. Yeah.
It's not easier, that's for sure.
So, like, tell me about you complete the car, you go to SEMA, you win Young Guns. People are starting to talk about you because the car was super innovative, super high quality build. You absolutely dominate at SEMA. Like, are you getting phone calls? Like, are people saying, hey, now build my car? Or is that when the business kind of takes off?
Not as many as you think. No, for whatever reason. I think sometimes people get intimidated by what I do and think that it's unapproachable. There's no way he'll build this car for me. It'll be too much money, and in some cases, sure, that's correct. But actually, I just like building cool stuff. If there's an opportunity to build cool stuff and provide for my family, beautiful. I'll hear it out for sure. The only downside I have is that there's one of me, and I got 2 spaces currently. So if those are taken up, it's Oregon. It rains half the year. I can't keep anything outside. My hands are kind of tied, and I only have the competency to jump between about 2 at one time at the depth we take them. If we were building cookie cutter hot rods, sure, I could run 10 of them because they're all the same LS3, T56, buy all the parts, bolt them on, modify a few things, send them to somebody else to paint, put them together with crappy gaps, and get your 100, 200 grand, but that's just, I've got no interest in it. It doesn't get me going. I'd rather go get a day job than do that. So
yeah, you guys,
I like the deep dives.
To everyone listening, like, you have to go check out his Instagram. And it's not really like, skip past, sorry, Kyle, but skip past the pictures of the completed cars. That's not the coolest part.
See, those don't interest me either. I like the process.
It's the little details. It's the crazy gas cap, or or that tail light that articulates, to reveal the fuel filler. And yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's the funnest prop in the shop.
It's all of that stuff. It's like, oh, now I know where the money went, because it's an incredible amount of time and engineering and creativity and innovation that goes into that. So it's the details that are super cool. Okay. So you hand off the car to the client, and then you're just like, I guess I'll do my day job until something else drops in, or did you have a plan?
I kind of mentioned it on the front end a little. Maybe it was when we were just shooting the shit beginning, but the phone always seems to ring at the right time for me. It doesn't ring year round. I have other shop owners that are my buddies, and then, the phone's always ringing, and I might get 2-3 serious inquiries a year. I get 20 of people that just don't understand that that's just out of my wheelhouse. And I'll just tell you right off the bat, they're like, there's nothing there. Like, we're not on the same brainwaves here. But the ones I do get, it usually comes right when I really need one. And luckily we had a lifelong friend who my dad had built high-end hot rods before. My dad was his hot rod guy, and kind of same thing as the Z car. He's kind of done, and I have my business building hot rods, and so he would kind of moonlight for me. My dad would, working on this Corvette for our good friend Dean, and we had built Dean a Roadster because at my dad's business it was mechanical and body for a long time, and then it was just body. They bought into a franchise, and it was actually a really great business decision. But he would still do some hot rod stuff, but only for select people. And Dean was one of those guys because he was the best guy on earth when he was here. He was just appreciative, nice, easygoing, just a great guy.
But he gets your phone to ring at just the right time.
At just the right time, he's like, you know what? I'm thinking, why don't we have a meeting and we'll talk about maybe we'll talk about something.
Was
and
this
he had wanted a Corvette?
That root beer brown?
Yep.
What was the name of that car?
I called it Ballistic Beige.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, the color does it for me now because it's so cool because it's just not what everyone else does. But that was definitely his design choice, that and the wheels. And at the time I'm like, it's Corvette, black, red, badass sporty wheels. He's like, these meshy looking forge lines, like beige interior. And I'm like, oh, that hurts me inside. But at the end of the day, when it's all done, I go, that car has character. I love that.
So walk me through a little bit. I'm super curious. I'm sure our audience is like, what does that initial conversation sound like? Where he's like, "Hey, Kyle, I want to build a Corvette. Where do we get started? Like, is there a brainstorm session? When does the dollar amount come into play? How do you vet that? Because I'm sure there's a lot of guys that are like, I have $7,000 to spend. Can you paint my car?
No.
What's your process?
I don't have time to email you back for that.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's pretty easy going, and honestly, the money talks and stuff, not as important as the making sure we mesh, as collaborators part, because at that level, the money's good. And I found that people where the money's good, generally the money isn't talked about in the first couple of instances. When obviously there's a build contract when this all goes official, it's got to have expectations of me and everything's an estimate in this business. Cause I've built 2 Corvettes now and not one thing could go between the 2 cars. Cause there's just so much variance in the body and my CAD and processes I did on the brown car don't quite equate to what I can manage today. Like if I build another one, actually I have a lot of great files that are saved and SendCutSend's a big catalyst of that. But before that in 2019, I didn't know about SendCutSend when I finished the beige car and I was doing a ton of SolidWorks and 3D printing because the first thing I bought after I won the Young Guns is I needed a write-off at the end of the year. And I'm like, I'm buying SolidWorks. I don't know anything about CAD, but I know that I need it, because that's where the industry is going. SolidWorks was the standard. Looking at it now, yeah, maybe I would have been as good off or better off with Fusion, but I'm not bad off in SolidWorks. It's just a little clunky at first when you don't know anything. Yeah. But I've clunked through it for the last 5 years and gotten pretty good at creating what I think you're pretty damn good for a guy who is computer illiterate. I get it done.
No, I love that. I love just like taking a bet. You're like, hey man, I see where this is going. I'm going to invest in myself and in some technology.
I have 0 stocks. I have a shitload of really nice equipment and things that I can use for my whole life to
Hell yeah.
money. So.
Hell yeah. No, we talk about that all the time. It's like, can you invest in some stocks or can you invest in yourself? And I think investing in your skills or equipment or something, so then you can control your own money.
Yeah.
If you want to make $1 million,
at least to a point, you got to have your base of stuff that you need to create things. And then once you have that, you can make that choice. But I still have so far to go on things that I could use to actually make money and things that are cool that I also want.
So I'm still poking at your clients because I'm crazy curious about this market that comes to you with these guys with a good amount of money. And you're like, oh, the real ones, the guys with money is not discussed. And that's very true. Like if the
first thing someone asks you is how much would it cost to have that, they're not a real client usually. And there could be an anomaly, and I would hate to offend anybody. I'm very nice. I'm not going to, tell you to your face, go fuck off. I'm going to be thinking, am I listening or am I not listening? Yeah. And I'm not listening if we're just going to talk about money, because what I want to know is, are we going to build something cool together where you're going to let me be the professional and let you know what you need, and then listen to your suggestions and incorporate them in the car in the best possible way, so that you end up with something that you can use or show, or both, or something that you ultimately don't want to, let go with you, family heirloom. I think of them as art a little bit.
No, it's not in
a crusty way, in a just, that's my art. That's how I create my art. So
yeah, no, it's art you can drive. So sorry, the last question about this. You're having the conversation, but not about money, because obviously like the right clients are not talking about money. Is there still some sort of like red flags that you look for? You're like, what is this guy's occupation? Or do you like Google him to find out his net worth or something?
If you can do we'll have a, I like to schedule like a 15-20 minute call. So neither of us are out too much time. Let's just talk. I don't care what we talk about. Let's talk about sports. Let's talk about the weather. I really don't give a shit.
He's like, I own the Cowboys.
Let's talk.
Yeah.
Let's talk. Yeah. And then I'll get a couple, bullet points that I need to look into to kind of get an idea of what you're looking for. We'll have some follow-up calls or emails about this. I'll find out a little deeper show me some examples of have you seen anything that strikes you that is kind of in line with what you want to do? I can start kind of shaping. Are we talking about a $250,000 thing? We talking about a $500,000 thing? Are we in the 7+ figures?
Yeah.
Where, and then that way I can at least give them some loose idea. Obviously things change, but
producer Dom almost just fell out of her chair when she realized a car could cost 7 figures. Yes, they can, and they're worth it. Yeah.
Well, you think about hours. Like this car's got 10,000 plus labor hours, and that's just the somewhat documented ones. We're not talking about thinking about and drawing out and doing CAD at home, and by the end they probably have 20,000. I don't know.
Yeah, no, we call it shower thoughts. It's like the right project. You're paying for someone's hours, but then you're also paying for their dreams and their shower thoughts and their drive home or whatever. Like Sarah's sitting right next to me. Sarah's on salary, but I think she likes what she does, but she's thinking about it all the time. And so
100%.
These contracts that you're signing with a customer, they're like, okay, I'm getting 10,000 hours. They're actually getting double that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So,
and I am not a bean counter at all. So I always do the right thing. If that means I need to eat some hours because, hey, a great example, the transmission on this, me and the client both going into that knew that this DCT we were using, the 7-speed BMW DCT, is really cutting edge. And anything cutting edge in this kind of stuff can bite you. But just dropping a 4L80 and everything like everybody's done for the last 20 years gets us freaking nowhere. We know that'll work. So why not gamble? I'll give us some ways out. I'll make sure that tunnel has enough space that if we have to abort, we don't have to go back and redo the interior, redo the tunnel, all this stuff. And I had a great outlook on it, like 2-3 years from completion. And then that just continued to nosedive to the point where I'm like, this shit ain't going to work. I got it finally working after just absolute frustration. What had happened was there was this company that makes the black box that's supposed to make it run, and they had some internal scuffles. I don't know, things went AWOL, ended up being just didn't work, garbage. It's an anchor. So I had to, I got to make this right with the client. I have a client who would, obviously he's a great dude. He's not going to let me eat the whole thing. But at the same time, I kind of knew this was going to happen and I'd planned for it. And I'm like, why don't I just make that right?
You got to make it right. Yeah.
Okay. On the scale of a car like this, what's $10,000-$12,000? It's really not. It doesn't end up being a whole lot. So
yeah.
And I got to learn the most valuable lesson there is. Don't fricking use DCTs. So just don't do
I
it.
agree with that. Yeah.
Get the 8 HP. I learned, I had to know for myself. I don't like to listen to other people's opinions. I like to figure it out for myself. And I sure did.
That's a common theme, actually. Like myself included and other guests and just people that I've known. there's a lot of very, very smart people out there that wish that they could learn by watching others, but we just got to do it ourselves.
You just got to do it.
You're like, hey man, the stove is hot. I'm like, I'm going to touch it and make sure. Side note, at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, they are known for their stupid hot plates. Like, I don't know, they're like 500 degrees or something for some reason. And they come out and they're like, hey dude, this is the hottest plate you're ever going to touch. And I was like, are you sure? Like, let me find out about that. And then my wife did the same thing and she burnt the crap out of her hand. And then they go, oh, it's okay. We have burn cream. Like they had, this must happen so many times that they just had burn cream in the back. So anyway, yeah, very smart people are still dumb and they got to learn it themselves. So anyway, yeah, no DCTs.
Well, and you don't learn that you can't do, if the info's not out there online, like I couldn't find anybody that had an LT4. The big problem in the whole equation is that it's a direct injected LT4.
Mm-hmm.
So the aftermarket support on the ECUs is either you go full Motec and have custom everything written for it. And okay, we're out probably minimum $50,000 in gear and people's time and tuning and all this stuff. And I'm like, my guy just wants something that drives. We're not going to pursue that. We're going to try to make it work with the E92 ECU in it. Clearly wasn't necessarily the fault of that as so much as it was the trans controller, come to find out. And I could actually make it work now knowing what I know, but I was so soured by the whole thing. I'm like, we need a torque converter. Let's just pivot. I found this other model of 8 HP, which is the 8-speed automatic, paddle shifted, still all the cool shit. And it was almost identical case size, this one out of Europe, and it takes a lot of torque, and it was like perfect. I'm like, well, while we're on the subject of learning shit, why don't we just learn all the shit and then we know it? So now I know it. So that's the knowledge that you pay for when you pay me to do something like this, is I've done it the wrong way and the right way to know what way to advise you.
What do they say? It's like the guy who comes out and it takes him 10 minutes to fix the problem. And he charges you $1,000. It's not $1,000 for 10 minutes. It's $1,000 for the 20 years of getting punched in the face. Yeah. So
and this isn't really a career that you can go to school for. You have to. Yeah. It's only something you learn by doing. So
I agree. We actually have some great employees.
You can go to UTI, Wyotech. You can go to school for it, but it's kind of the same as business school. I didn't learn a thing in business school. I didn't know anything about business until I started a business, because everything I learned was hypothetical and or had nothing to do with how taxes work, how payroll works, any of the stuff you really need.
Dealing with angry clients
any time in QuickBooks, none of that. And then you start a business and then you learn all that.
We have some great staff that have come from, Wyotech or the Fab School or whatever.
Yep.
And they teach you some safety and some basic CAD and, maybe you can weld or whatever. But they definitely don't teach you like when things don't fit, or things don't show up on time, or something fell off a truck or whatever. Like you just learn that from living, I guess. So back to clients. Sorry, I'm crazy fascinated with this.
No,
because I tried to be your client and I still can't quite afford you. I'm working on it.
You can be my client, Jim.
I'm trying. I have that Trans Am that I really want you to do.
Let's go out for beers and take a contract with us.
Okay. I have like a little bit of recycling cash that I can send you like every week for 700 weeks.
King.
Yeah.
Cash is king.
So are there any like red flags that you look for in clients where
the biggest red flag I ever found is if the deposit for the build, to start the build, you keep a certain amount of money just in case they ever miss a payment, in case, something changes for them. That way you don't miss, but then, hey, we need to pause things right here. If that check bounces, then you probably should not continue forward on that.
And
that is when luckily that is when I started and had the build contract. I went to an attorney, had it all paid out the butt, had it all drawn up legally and binding and all that. And that literally was the one that was going to bite me. So your gut never lies.
Yeah. So what about green flags? What's your dream client? Like
my best clients are people who have already been clients because I've groomed them.
Ooh.
They know the process and I don't have to train them, and we already mesh, and you know, that's my best client. So I try to really please the guys that I'm working for.
Okay.
And don't
That's
take that as a soundbite, because that sounds horrible. I try to do right by all my clients so that they want to come back.
no, you're a good guy. No, yeah, that's. I think yeah, I think Sarah and I were just talking about this the other day. We were going to send out. We have a new service that we're going to test, and we're like, we want to send it to like some of our favorite clients, some of our best clients, and right away we're like, oh, it's people that have ordered, you know, dozens, if not hundreds of times. They're the best clients. They've already gone through the process. They know what to expect. They're familiar with our website. They're familiar with support. They're familiar with the end product. Repeat customers is the way to go, especially if they have enough money to buy a few $1 million cars. I guess that's pretty nice.
Yeah, that never hurts.
So Ballistic Beige, how long was that build?
That was actually way quick. I started that December of 2018, and it was at SEMA 2019 November.
Oh damn!
So I turned and burned on that one. That was the last time I kind of burnt the candles at both ends hard.
Yeah,
coming out of my youth and transitioning into, by that time I had met Sherry, my future wife, and you know, had to slow down on the super late nights every night all the time. Although I really didn't during that one, and somehow we made it through that. But it, you know, moving forward, I'm like, that wasn't that much fun. I didn't have too much fun doing that part.
She knew what she was getting into, right? I mean,
oh, for sure. It was
if that's
great.
when she met you, then
trial by fire.
Yeah.
And, you know, but it was quick. He was declining in his health a little bit. Not as, you know, more towards the end there. But I knew that, you know, let's get this thing done and get him, you know, in this car at least for a while he can, and enjoy it. So, and it worked out perfect. And it was a great, you know, I'm so honored that I got to build him a car at some point in my lifetime, and it was his last one, you know. It was really cool. So
tell us a little bit. This is going to come out after SEMA. So for everyone listening, this is after SEMA. This is after NDA and everything's, all the awards have been given out, right? Tell me about the blue thing behind you.
Yeah, so this one we call Sirius 66. The names I could give or take them, but you got to have one because you just can't call it the blue Corvette all the time. Because I could build another blue one sometime. So it's been actually the blue balls Corvette because it's another 5-year build. It takes so much time when you do everything to reinvent the wheel. At every juncture on this car, I took the knowledge I had gained from the beige one. I learned a lot. Corvettes are a whole different beast to steel cars. I learned a ton. I wanted to transfer. There were several concepts I had started on that I was really keen to perfect and make work on this one. You know, like my detachable front scoop and the power steering reservoir embedded inside the supercharger swirl pot. Just some weird stuff, you know, call them automotive kinks, if you will. Just little things that I think are super cool, but also take all the knowledge I learned on things where I was like, well, I would do that differently. You know, luckily, the ideal thing is to do the same platform again, knowing what I know, because now I know so much more.
One of my favorite things that you do is you'll take sheet metal and you'll carve it out to fit an AN fitting, and you're kind of showing mock-ups or whatever on Instagram. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. How's that going to work? And then as you start to get further, I'm like, oh my God, he left enough room in there to get a wrench so that you can actually undo the AN fitting. But it's so tight tolerance and everything. It's just, I don't know. I get very excited when I see one of your builds with something that's really clever, but then it's also serviceable. And I think that shows all the decades of experience that you have too.
What leads to that is the buck always stops at me. If something goes awry, if I'm going to have to drop a transmission out of a fully painted car that everything's done on and put in a new one that has never been in it before and make it all work and look like it was plan A, which it does amazingly, you know, I got to leave room for the bell housing bolts and stuff to get to. And I had forethought of this because I knew going in that at the start, there's a 20% chance this might not actually, the technology might, you know, we plan you're going to build a car 3, 4, 5 years. Technology is going to be totally different where you'll land at the end of that thing. So you don't want to be stuck in the past. So you got to plan for the future. But doing that, you're on that razor's edge where the technology you think is going to end up being there maybe isn't there. And there was a huge shift from the community of going with these DCTs to then, oh my God, the 8 HP is the best of all the worlds. You can have a clutch, you can have lightning fast paddle shifts without all the weird parking lot, take ups in the clutches and just general bullshit. So it's like, I would have picked that all day if that's what it was cool in 2020 and what everyone was doing, but it wasn't. And we gambled a little wrong. But we left the contingency knowing that. So whenever we do something that I have even the inkling isn't going to be what we land on, I'll make sure that it's serviceable as heck. Planning... In general, just general working on these things. Once you have a car like this done, you never want to touch it. But if you do, you want to be able to not damage it. So
yeah, but that comes from experience. That's experience, and it's forethought and foresight or whatever, future proofing a little bit. That only comes with experience. One of our first pieces of equipment that we ordered, it showed up, and then we couldn't fit it through the door. And now we have a really nice checklist. We're like, go measure the goddamn door. Can the forklift get it off the truck? Silly things that you learn that you may not know on day one. Yeah. So a 5-year build for the blue balls. Or
by this, that is the working name around here.
5-year build on purpose, or it became 5 years?
It became 5 years. It was contractually obligated to be like 3 or something. But like I said, I have a gracious client. We were both enjoying the journey, and at every juncture, we checked the harder box, not the easier box. And we kept digging and digging and digging. And, these always start out as somewhat of a business venture, and they turn into making art. It just depends on the buy-in into the process. Some people aren't like that at all. And we can wrap it up. And, I could have had the thing done 2 years earlier if we didn't want to come up with our own door handles from scratch and reinvent the grill and the hood vents and push the floorboard out so that the driver actually fits in the damn thing.
That's a big Corvette issue. Things. Yeah. So I assume too that this isn't his daily. He's not in a rental car during this. He's got other toys.
No, it's not. It's a fun toy. It's literally, it's probably just a piece of art to look at and enjoy if you want to.
Yeah.
There's murmurs of maybe other stuff down the road. So we'll see.
Okay.
Hopefully.
So what's, this is going to SEMA right now. You're going to stop by and see us on your way because you're in Oregon. You're going to stop by in Reno.
About that.
See the
Reno's
shop.
A great midway.
I get to see the car. And then you get to go to Vegas. What's life like that for the car after that? Are you handshake and get a final check, or what happens?
I'll bring it back here to my shop for another month or two. He's SoCal, so there you have a big show down there, and he may see this and go, hey, that's not the plan. But my loose tentative plan is, why don't we go hit the Grand National Roadster show and then deliver the car? Because I'm already going to have to go down there. Might as well make it worth our while for him and me, because the more notoriable the car is, the better it is for him too. So that's probably what we'll end up doing. And obviously there's some more shakedown miles I want to do. I actually have already driven this thing quite a bit in the Bay Area. We kind of went to a Good Guys show very quietly. I didn't advertise at all that we were going. Basically for the SEMA thing, because the grand reveal is SEMA. This was kind of let's go see what people eyes are drawn to. Let's see if we need to change anything before the big show.
What was the reaction?
Hardly nothing. Oh, it was a good reaction. It was a good reaction, but I don't think, I didn't do any advertising, anything. I didn't have anything of under the car, all this little stuff. I was going to say, people know this is not just your run of the mill thing. This thing is insane.
It's tough. It's tough because when you have a piece of art like this, the value is added when people know the story, when they understand the build and everything. It's like if I walked by a canvas with some paint on it, I'm like, whatever, neat. But they're like, oh, that's a Degas or a Picasso. I'm like, oh, wow, let me look at this a little harder. So I can imagine seeing that at Good Guys.
Exactly. That people definitely appreciate it. And every now and then you'd run into somebody who looks a little deeper and knows because you kind of got to know what you're looking at a little bit too.
Yeah, like the custom door handles and stuff.
It's not in your face.
Yeah, it's a subtle car, but if you knew that those door handles were custom, then all of a sudden your eyes go what else is going on here? And you start to see all these little Easter eggs.
Yeah. So now that SEMA is so close, I actually on my website just released the full build gallery minus like the full shots of the car, full shots of the interior. So all the little cool stuff that's actually the cool stuff anyways, I made what I wanted to see in the world, and that is like a very comprehensive version of that. So I have 105 different albums of different facets of the car that have all the photos of the construction of that piece.
Okay.
You know, how did you stamp out the body cavity cover? How did you make that? Well, I sent the blank. I 3D printed the dies. I pressed it. I Cerakoted it. I milled some hardware and I put it on there. And here's like a logical order of that. And so I did that for every part of the freaking car. So even the body work, everything, because the car is built as good as you can do it, in my opinion.
I agree, man.
So I showed everything, and nobody does that on these super high-end ones because there's still guys out there who think that these cars are bare metal, that they show in bare metal don't get fully skim-coated and glazed. And I'm telling you, metal ain't straight.
Yeah.
It takes plastic. That all these perfect show-finished cars, even the highest-end ones, full glaze, because that's the only way to get something straight. So
yeah.
There's a facade there, and it is great to have good metal work.
Yeah, Chip Foose has glaze on his shit. That's just how it works.
Well,
yeah.
Everything.
So you hit on something there that's really cool. If you can show, the ingredients that went into the sausage, it makes that sausage more valuable.
If you're trying to learn like how, if this was available to me when I was learning and I could go look at a build album like this, oh my God, I'd be in there for days, because I grew up looking, it was before social media. You'd look at blogs and you'd look at like trophy truck blogs. I'd love to go to trophy truck blogs and just look at the fab porn of these TIG welds and this chromoly chassis and all this stuff. And I'm just drooling, like going, that's what I want to do with my life.
No, I love it. And I think that's a good takeaway for, people who are starting out and they want to continue on a similar path. It's the more you can show your process and the more that you can show craftsmanship or, successes and failures or whatever, it adds a lot of value. Like I know a lot of people will find, some sort of craftsman, whether they're a fabricator or a jewelry maker or a seamstress or something, they'll find them on Instagram. And it's because they're building in public. They're showing how that purse is stitched with the finest quality leather, and they're showing the needle go through it and how many hours is behind it. And so I think it's really cool that you're kind of demonstrating, hey, it does pay off. If you can document how these things are built, you're going to win the right client, because the right client is going to see the attention to detail that went into it, and they're going to be willing to pay for it. And they're also going to be willing to hire you for you. And just let you rip,
Yeah.
Anytime we've hired an artist for like t-shirt art or stickers or something like that, I just say, do whatever you want.
You'll always get a better product.
Yes. Cause you hire an artist because of what they've done in their portfolio. You don't hire, a guy who specializes in Corvettes to go do, your Datsun. Although I guess you could.
Disclaimer: I don't specialize in Corvettes.
Okay, yeah. So what's your?
I can do Corvettes.
What's your dream? What are you itching to work on? What's
probably
going to be
my personal dart of all things.
And that's the dart that's on like jacks, right? It's got the
air jacks, air jacks. It's got the full SendCutSend push rod rear suspension thing.
Hell yeah.
Every time I'm like, God, my Instagram's just dead. I just throw that up and spirals again. It's like, oh, actually, I'm not going to touch that thing because it's the easy button.
So the dart is, how long have you had that?
I started building that for my dad's dad, my grandpa. 2020. It kind of snuck its way in. I had like the space cleared. It was just going to be this vet. And then it just showed up, because my dad was going to do like a quick resto on it for him, to kind of go drive around. And, he bought that car brand new in 64 for my grandma who'd passed. And so he, it was kind of like a full circle. Hey, I want to, before I kick it, I want to get this thing, drivable or something. And then it kind of spiraled into, well, we don't really have time to be doing this, but also if this is just something we're going to, gentleman's agreement end up with at the end of the day, why don't we do it at least the bones right, so
Yeah.
that we have something that can continue on that we'll actually want to keep instead of just sell.
And now it's on pushrod suspension, on
and
air
now
jacks.
it's a full chassis pushrod suspension. It's getting an LS3 525, and we're going to go another foot further back with it. But
oh shit,
that one's just kind of dreaming, because like I got Joe's 55. I need to get that thing done too, because he's not a spry gentleman either.
So are you taking work like after the blue one's gone in a little bit?
Yeah, well, so I always try to have an A and a B.
Can we put the 1-800 number up here? 1-800 KMC. Yeah.
Well, I'm hoping I go to SEMA here in about 10 days. People actually put eyes on this thing, and then I have the nice, neat QR code on my marketing materials, and somebody scans that, goes to my website, sees this build gallery, and goes, Jesus, that's who I want building my car. So
nice.
And then, just give me a call.
So yeah, let your work speak for itself.
Yeah, that's the best way.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Okay, well, I'm excited to see you. I'm excited to see this build. I'm excited to see the next ones. I guess last question. After the Dart, let's say the Dart is complete. What are you really itching to get into? Like, is there anything super crazy?
It's actually, for me, it's products. I want to have more time to actually refine some of these products. Like my tailgate wall brackets that I still haven't released, because I threw that. I wanted one. So I made one for myself in my home garage. I'm like, hey, how cool would it be to just open a tailgate and sit on it and then close it up when you're done, and it's neat and out of the way. And then I was like, well, yeah, that's cool. I'll show it on Instagram or whatever. And then, it gets like 7 million views on Instagram and 8 million views on YouTube. And I'm like, holy shit, I need to expedite this product quickly. And then I get into this whole can of worms of, well, not everybody wants a 67 to 72 tailgate. They want a OBS tailgate, a square body, a Dodge, a Ford. And then I'm like, in business, they say that or there's some saying, or like if you don't launch before your product's done, you're too late or something. But I'm a blue collar guy. If I'm gonna spend a couple $100 on some brackets, I want them to work. So that's how I feel for my people, is they're just my own people. And so I don't want to launch this thing and have it not service all these different things. But at the same time, that takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
And I got to track down each one of these tailgates, and I got to make it fit. And
that's where
so
I'll
I don't
push
want to sell.
Yeah.
I don't want to sell the carriage before the horse and have it not perfected. But at the same time, that would be better than not selling it at all.
Exactly. So. I was going to say the SendCutSend way is just to launch it and then figure out what the hell is happening. You just do something and then hope for the best. And then there's no better motivator than something being live. You're like, oh crap, it's out there. Now I have to focus on it. But I really like the idea of you're in an industry that relies on your talent and craftsmanship, but it also kind of caps out at how many hours you can be awake and how many hours you can work per year. Yes. And now you have a beautiful young daughter, right?
Yep.
And you have a beautiful wife. And so you got to dedicate time to those. The arc here is you have talents, you're working with your hands, but at some point, like a product is something that can generate income even while you sleep.
Exactly. And everybody's looking for their $1 million idea, If I could just have one thing that just generates, then I can have more time and more resources and stuff to pursue building cars and stuff. And, obviously I have clients on all these things other than the Dart. But it's still, cash flow in this business is tough sometimes, especially if you're like me and you're not the most, I hate pestering these guys. So it's like, well, okay, it's time. I really need to send that invoice.
Yeah. Well, hell, I know Ring Brothers they're making a lot of margin on those damn hood hinges. I tried to buy some the other day. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, they're proud of those.
Yeah, they're very proud. So yeah, maybe we can get some KMC hood hinges and tailgate wall mount.
There's a set live on SendCutSend Marketplace.
Okay, well,
if you have a 64 Dart, I got you. so nobody.
Dude, that is the SendCutSend Marketplace. Everyone's
I'm the king of ultra niche products that nobody needs except I wanted.
No, that's the whole thing about what we do. It's like everyone is asking us for a directory. They're like, you need a directory to see everything that's on Marketplace. I'm like, you guys, it looks like the world's most insane garage sale right now. We're like, we have a chessboard that's missing some pieces. We have a left sock. We have this like old cat toy. It's just wild because there's hood hinges for a 64 Dart. There's like a skid plate for an AMC Eagle. There's some sort of like weird tool for a Japanese pachinko machine. It's just like we need to get some more products in there before
if we had something with a search bar there. You could have some fun and find ultra niche products that are super well done.
We're getting there. Okay, so one piece of advice that you would love to give to anyone listening.
I don't know if they want it, but I'd say I'd go off of what we were just talking about. Build stuff that you're passionate about. Don't pander. Don't always try to make the most universal thing in the world. Build stuff that you're passionate about. Stay in your lane. Be a nice person. Stuff will come your way. It always does. And if it doesn't, then you can get a day job. So
you're doing it, man. You're a nice guy. You have good stuff.
Plan B is most people's plan A. So it's all good.
Hell yeah. Everyone please go check out Kyle's Instagram. We'll put a link in bio or description or however we do this. Dude, it's been great talking to you. Thanks again. Thanks for
you as well.
For
Thank
being
you guys for having me. This is awesome.
Hell yeah. Thank you.
Do we have an outro? Am I supposed to say something?
Can you say thanks for listening? Love to have your feedback. Find us on Insta and YouTube at SendCutSend.
Can we just use that?
Thanks for joining us on today's episode. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can email us at justgonnasendit@sendcutsend.com or find us on socials at SendCutSend at Jim Belosic. Don't forget to subscribe, download, and share with your friends. Thanks again for listening. We'll catch you on the next episode.